Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not?
I mean, we jump straight in if you want.
Yeah.
I'll depress coffee first. Make it feel bad about itself.
But then earlier, I was like, just before I was getting ready, and then I was like, I've got a bit of time. So I just watched some videos on the kind of area, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay. Alright, so we'll lead it in. We'll introduce. So obviously got Zach Jones with me.
Hi.
Hello to Yellow Concrete Podcast. I'm going to start with the simple question first of how long have we known each other, Zach?
Like 8 months at most.
8 months at most.
Yeah.
And we haven't. I mean, we see each other, but we don't really talk much.
No, it's usually just. Hey,
which seems to be the case with most guests. I don't know. It seems to be I've known you for like 2 years, and I've spoken to you two very little, and then we're going to go sit and talk for an hour and see what happens in that hour.
I mean, that sounds about right.
Sort of thing.
To be honest, I had kind of, in the least creepy sounding way possible, I had kind of been like, oh man, I really want to talk to Graham about stuff. He just seems so cool. I want to like, ask him questions about life.
I mean, that's a misnomer. So that said, I think it was New Year's Eve recently, and on New Year's Eve I spent about, I think it was like 20 minutes standing with someone trying to convince them that they were obsessed that they existed and that they didn't exist. And it was annoying me that they wouldn't accept that they didn't exist, but they were convinced that they were like, I'm very secure in that I don't exist, and yet they were trying to define themselves, and I was like, we're just going around in circles and we're drunk and this isn't...
I was going to say,
so it nowhere.
So it was a case that you were also drunk, not.
Oh yeah, we were all drunk.
So you're not the kind of because I'm the kind of person that I will facilitate people being stupid. Like,
oh yeah, I'll do that.
Like I'll
ask questions which make no sense.
I had a friend who I don't even know the full story, but he like was drunk, or he basically wasn't all there one evening with some friends, and there was a point where he was just like, I've only heard this second hand. I really wish I was there. He was apparently just staring at his hands for like 10 minutes until somebody then said like, "Oh, what's going on with your hands, man? Are you all right?" And he was like, "These aren't my hands." So now, anytime he drinks or anything, I'm just like, "Hey man, are those your hands?" Like he'd text me at one point. Text me at one point saying like, "Oh, I'm in a club. I'm going a bit crazy. Zach, help!" And then I was just like, "Tom, what are you on about? I'm right next to you. We're having a band practice. It's great. We're doing loads of work. Tom, wake up!" And he's just like, "No, I'm not having any of this." I was like, "Damn it! I thought I got him there."
I always think it's weird, like, because I've been thinking about drugs a lot, like recently.
Okay. Just.
Well, no, like I make a little zine.
Okay, yeah.
And the next subject on it is drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big in terms of like legal and illegal. So I've just been thinking about drugs in general recently.
Yeah.
And the amount of kind of cliche stories you hear about drugs of like, oh no, I can't feel my face, or I tried to jump off this, and I'm like, there's very few like real of those stories which I know.
Yeah.
Like I know a couple, and it's kind of friend of friend, but I've never had one myself. I don't know anyone directly who's had one of those really high stories, like being chased by something, or jumping off something, or losing your hands.
Well, there was like back in uni, there was like a guy who it's just become known as like one of these stories now. Who I can't remember. Oh yeah, that was it. It began because we all kind of got together because it was my friend's birthday. So we were like, okay, we'll club together and we'll like get him some presents. But they were like stupid little presents because we were at uni, so we don't have money to waste on friends. And there was one of the things we got him was a bubble sword.
Okay.
So it was just a giant bubble thing.
Yeah.
But then shaped like a sword, because we thought, oh, this will be funny for later. Why not? And then one of the guys who was with us, he was pretty out of it, and he was just like, he just kept referring to him as the Bubble Princess.
Okay.
Don't know where that came from, but then this just carried on throughout the night to the point where like there was like we were just like casually sitting around, just watching a bit of TV, doing nothing too crazy. Thank you. Yeah, doing nothing too mad.
Yeah.
And he just kept freaking out, and we were like, "What's going on, man?" And and he was just like, "I definitely saw somebody move in the room." We were like, "No, there's nobody there, man. There's nobody there." He was like, "No, I saw somebody." He was like adamant for like hours. He was like, "No, I definitely saw somebody." To the point where then later somebody obviously had to then go into the room and just try and be that figure, just to freak him out even more.
I mean, that's what you want to do, right?
I mean, obviously.
If you've got a paranoid person in your house, you want to make that worse.
I mean, admittedly, we knew that he was doing that, and then after he was like, "There's definitely somebody in there," we were like, "No, man, there's nobody in there. What are you talking about?"
Denial all the time. That's the way forward.
I mean, me personally as well, I had once somebody, like this same person with the whole bubble, he was like the least chill person thinking about it. He was like, "Can you guys just like feel gravity?" And after he said that, like now even like every day, like I'm completely sober, like, just, oh man, I really can feel the weight of the world on me. But at that time, I was like, my organs are being pulled through my body into the floor.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
It's like that's one of those, yeah, like that's it. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just like, because it's the same with like just like going out drinking. There's just that kind of, there's that part of my mind that's like rational where I'm just like, everything's fine, and then there's this other part that's like, no, it's not. I swear it's not. Believe me, man.
Yeah, something's wrong. And
yeah.
The more drunk you get, the louder that voice gets, and you're like, no, man, something is wrong. Like we need to leave. There's problems everywhere, kind of thing.
And even though there's that rational part that's still like, no, seriously, like it's fine. Well, I know it's fine. There's this other part that's like, no, I'm convincing you. You need to go.
Yeah, I mean, you got to work around those problems.
Exactly.
So most people obviously come on here. I don't give them a profession, but I give them like a vocation essentially.
Okay.
Because they're writers or do whatever. I didn't know what to class you as because I don't know much about your life.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the main reason I asked you was because I saw you do your TED Talk thing.
Yeah.
Which was in Lincoln, and that was very good. And I was like, it's interesting.
It was something.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure of it.
It was an experience.
An experience.
I think that's it. I enjoyed it as an experience, and that's why I did it. But I didn't really like talk about it much, just because it's like one of those things. I'm like, I can do better, and I know I can. Yeah. So I'm like, it was more an experience of doing, I guess.
Just wanted the participation.
Yeah.
Get involved. Do something, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Like, it's, if somebody says like, "Hey, do you want to do it?" I mean, like you saying like, "Hey, do you want to do this podcast?" I'm like, "Yes," just because it keeps life interesting, I guess.
Getting involved, kind of thing. So, I mean, do you? What do you do? Zach? What's your world?
Well, see, the only other podcast I've done with somebody, they classed me as a musician.
Okay. Oh wait. In fact, I have a link from another guest to you.
What?
Because I had Callum.
Oh yeah.
Last time, and he'll be essentially be the guest before you, and he did mention that you and him may be playing music together when he finishes his album.
Yeah.
And I spent most of the podcast telling him to finish his album.
That's probably. I mean, that's probably a wise thing to do. Like, eventually, it'll happen. I think that's it. It's just when to find time to do stuff. It's like so busy all the time. I don't life. But yeah, so I mean that came about because I've been in a band back like home where I'm from for a long time. I don't even remember how long.
It's been that long.
Yeah. And I mean we still haven't like finished it. Like we wrote an album years and years ago and then just never really got anywhere with it. But we're still active, I guess. So we're still like I talked recently to him and I'm like, we definitely going to finish this album, right? He's like, yes.
I'm fairly certain I'm still in bands which have never officially broken up.
Well, there you go.
But we just stopped meeting.
So just call them back and straight back into it. That's the way I roll with it anyway. Is that as long as it's not officially dead, then you just keep.
I mean, I kind of like that. there's like a real organic nature to that.
Exactly. I mean, that's just life, I suppose. Like we always say that whenever I talk to him about it. I'm like, we should really do this. It's like, yeah, well, maybe when I'm out of here and then back in here, that'll be great. So it's just kind of like, I guess that's it. Life takes you on various different paths, but keeping it open to coming back is quite nice, because eventually then it might just all fall into place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been in that band for forever.
Yeah.
And then there was just one time where, Ryan, the drummer, so Callum was like, I'm going to write this album, it's going to be great. And then he was like, I need a drummer. So he called Ryan, and Ryan was like, yeah, that's cool. And I've known Ryan for ages, like since uni. And then apparently Cal at one point was like, could really do with a bassist. And Ryan was like, Zach plays bass. I'd like you to know I bought a bass for £15 whilst Ryan was with me one time, just like off a friend.
Right.
And then I proceeded to touch that bass like once.
I mean, that's essentially my bass story. I got my bass from my brother for free because he was going to get rid, and I was like, don't throw away your bass.
Exactly.
And then it's hung on my wall upstairs for 8 years. Occasionally, I'll pick it up, I'll pluck a couple of strings, and I'm like, I can't play bass.
That will do. That's what I kind of like about instruments, is that they can just kind of linger for so long.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day you will just pick them up and
magically be able to play.
Exactly.
Because practice doesn't exist.
Well, I think that's it. Like, I think there's a lot to be said for practice via doing. So, because like I'm terrible at guitar, really, if I think about it. So like in my other band, I play guitar and sing.
Right.
And when I really like boil down what I can actually technically do, I'm like, I'm just a very, very average guitar player.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that my just general playing improved, like exponentially, just from being in a band, because of that constant
I found that
learning how to work with people and that kind of stuff.
I class myself as an awful guitarist, like below average, essentially. But because the bands I was in were all started in like senior school, and then I didn't have one in uni, so it was senior school and college. I'd have my guitar. I'd essentially just play power chords constantly.
Classic. Nice.
And we were in garage bands, so it didn't matter because we were playing crap music to nobody. So we just kind of led on with that, and I could never remember chords, so I never bothered with them. And it was always, I never improved, but my rhythm improved, and playing and vocals improved. But in terms of actual technical ability, there was no improvement in any way. Like, there's been no improvement in the last 10 years of what I can do on a guitar.
I mean, if you think about it, chords are really overrated. Like, all music uses chords. So.
As long as you're making a sound.
Exactly.
To me, that's the key to, if you're making a sound, you're enjoying that sound. I wouldn't say I enjoyed what I played, but I think you're doing okay in terms of the world and music at hand.
Well, I'm a big... And this might just stem from the fact that I'm just terrible at actually getting technically better.
Right.
But I'm kind of a big believer in anything, any kind of creative area, zone, that you can... by being the best, so I'll say musician, because that's like where we kind of are.
Yeah.
You can be the best musician, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will make the best music.
No.
So like, I think there's a lot to be said for just general... I don't know. I guess I'd call it passion, but it's kind of just a level of I'll just mess around and see what happens, and the kind of just a natural desire to learn more and to try more. And it's like an inquisitiveness where you just kind of like, I wonder what it sounds like if I get a drumstick and hit this radiator.
Yeah,
like, it could sound great.
I think it's one of those weird things with like music and expression where you kind of. Because like, if someone does something expressive on a canvas, right, you can look at that canvas and you'd be like, cool, they've done something expressive, that's obvious. But because sound is so, in a way, abrasive, if someone does something just expressionary through music, the reaction is so much more negative. I mean, that was kind of like the whole thing with punk.
Yeah.
It was like, we're not learning guitars, we're not learning any of that, we're just going to get on stage and play whatever the fuck we want. It was like, and that to a lot of people was really abrasive because they couldn't see the expression side of it because it's so assaulting on the ear, sort of thing. So if you do that now, it's like you've got an extra barrier compared to other art forms because everyone's going to hear it and instantly flinch. Whereas like you see something and you're like, I can ignore that, I can move past that, unless it's something really over the top. Whereas like like you say, like hitting a radiator, it's expressive, but you got to get past that barrier of why the fuck's the sound of a radiator?
I suppose there is that kind of. It's almost as if there was an art form to do with taste, like just like putting things of different varying flavors into your mouth, and that was like, I suppose, in a sense, cooking is an art form.
Yeah.
And that's maybe, I guess, the closest you can get to it in terms of how, like you're saying, abrasive a negative effect can be.
Yeah, like a full impact. Because there's no half measure in music. Like you can't just like glance at it, just see it on the side. You'll hear it, and that'll trigger something in your head one way or another. Yeah. So yeah, if that's instantly negative, that's going to put bad taste.
Yeah, I suppose there's.
I quite like that idea of like a taste of creativity.
Sounds
like you're giving people a taste of what you're trying to put together. It's like you do a sketch, that's a taste. You just get a little taste of what's going on here.
Just a little amuse-bouche of creativity.
Oh, I'm going to steal that.
It sounds like
stolen.
It sounds like an art supplies shop or something, like a taste of creativity. Yeah, I think because there's loads of. I come from because of being part of a band, like, and basically just everybody back home played an instrument of some sort, which was really weird coming to uni because then I was like one of the few people that, at least in my friends group, that just was passionate about music. Yeah. So back home, I was just Johnny guitar. But then when I came to Lincoln, it was like, oh, you're the musician. I was like, oh, I've never been the musician before.
See, I had the opposite of that going to uni. Because it was like at home, I was like, oh, it's the art guy. Like, he draws and does photography and stuff like that. That's a speciality sort of thing. Nobody's interested in that. And then I came to uni, obviously doing an arts course, and everybody's like, yeah, I'm literally one in thousands. Yeah, that's terrifying.
I guess that's what kind of did me a favour because I did computing, so it's essentially I went and did a science, but then I had so much kind of art stuff that I enjoyed as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing from back home, is that because I'm surrounded by all these people who are passionate about music, even stuff that sounded terrible, like some of my mates would find the worst sounding music, and there would still be somebody who at least appreciated it in a sense. And like, I mean, I'm probably one of the few people. Well, maybe not the few people, but I'm definitely in the minority of people that John Cage's 4 minutes 33. I'm probably one of the few people that genuinely I love it. I think it's a great expression of the fact that sound is everywhere, and that music doesn't just have to be defined by a certain set of instruments that have been deemed great. Yeah. Like, it could just be the sound of a bit of wind going through some trees. It's like, oh, good sound. Yeah. And I mean, you see that all the time in a lesser form in terms of people going out and sampling sounds and putting them in tracks. Yeah. The background, but they're still an instrument in that wider track. Yeah, the natural kind of timbre of the world sort of thing, which kind of nicely seeps through. I do remember when there was like, because it was back when like Facebook campaigns were actually effective, and everyone was trying to get Killing in the Name off for Christmas #1, and then the next year they tried to get John Cage's track to #1, and so many people were really angry about it, and I was like, but it'd be hilarious because they won't understand it. It'll get to #1 and nothing will play. They'll just sit there like, what? Why are we doing
this? Force them to play that on the radio. It will be genius. Everyone would be sat in cars having existential moments. Like, what the fuck's going on?
I think that's it. It would encourage people to just think for 4.5 minutes, because when you listen to music, it kind of just like, distracts your mind a bit.
It
Whereas,
turns off and gives you something else to focus on.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, I suppose if anything, it'd be very kind of it'd be quite a profound movement if that had actually have happened.
We should make that. That's the next goal now.
The next goal, get a radio show.
Well, I'm halfway there. I got a podcast.
There you go, and then
hour-long show, nothing happens.
Oh my god, we do.
It's just I'll invite a guest and we'll say nothing for an hour and we'll just sit drinking coffee, and that will be brilliant.
I would like you to know, as somebody that has tried it,
right,
a lot harder than it sounds. Like, genuinely, the band from back home, we tried to cover 433. Well, we did, but it definitely took us at least like 10 attempts.
Yeah.
Just because sitting so still with an instrument 4.5 minutes is surprisingly difficult for like a group of musicians. You just kind of like, I just want to mess with it.
Yeah. So you got little things you can tweak, little nervous things where you're like, I can just pluck this string.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be quiet enough. And there was so many points where like the drummer would just like start spinning a cymbal and then he'd just knock it a bit and he'd be like, oh, and we'd have to go back and restart it.
I think that's great though. In a way, that's the brilliance of that. It's like all those little sounds which you completely don't realise you're making.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you got this little ringing which is happening. Why is that happening? It's like, I placed my hand on a string about 10 minutes ago. And that's just ringing out now. There's nothing we can do to stop it.
Yeah, I guess it kind of gave me more respect for the musicians that actually do have to play it.
Yeah.
Because it is so difficult just to be like, I'm not going to mess with this, but I'm going to look attentive.
I do love it when an orchestra does it.
Yeah.
And you just watch them, and there's like this weird little like smirk on all their faces, where you know they're all itching just to move. Just move and embrace whatever sound they want to make. Okay. Just to get off music.
Okay.
Because you do have a subject.
Yeah,
we have got round. I mean, it might be included.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the first time in a while.
Okay.
Where the subject, I have completely no idea what you're going to say.
Oh, that's good.
You could say, tacos, and we'll talk half an hour about tacos.
I mean,
but I think that's only happened maybe once before.
Do I know enough about tacos?
It's too bullshit for an hour of taco talk.
I mean, it's kind of funny because I told you it was a broad theme.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, go nice and broad, and then we can like narrow it down as and when. Yeah. And basically we just immediately went into it because.
Okay. That's beautifully done.
Yeah.
That's
so like
professional behaviour.
So really, mind melding. You just knew. Because I was going to talk about like creativity.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I've kind of admired like stuff you do for ages, and I've been like, oh, that's so cool. And like, you're one of the few people around that are like creatively inspirational, like at the moment, because when you're at uni, it's like people everywhere, and then as people kind of start to peter out, and adult life comes in, and people just naturally, I guess, become a bit more grounded, and like in a sense, it's kind of sad, but lose their creativity.
Yeah, I especially see that from uni. You see like the amount of people who did my course who don't do anything creative now.
And like, I guess, like the kind of the branching off from like the massive creativity bubble idea that I had was kind of just, I guess, I was interested on how you stay creative. So like, I guess how you be productive in such a almost anti-productive world, because adult life is so. You wake up, you have breakfast, you go to work, you have some lunch, you could do some more work, you go home, you have some tea, you go to bed. That's it.
Yeah, it's built of structure, and therefore, if you don't fit the structure, you begin to fail at adult life, and
exactly,
and fall to the wayside, and then you start to punish yourself because you're like, why am I not succeeding? Everyone else is succeeding, and that kind of thing. I hate the idea of being an exception, because I always find it interesting when people say, You know, are you like one of the few? Like, because I don't feel that way. I feel like I do nothing. Like, I could do so much more. That's always a thing in my head. Like, I could do so much more. For me, it's almost compulsion.
Okay.
I don't, because it's that annoying thing of I don't try to do this.
Yeah.
I just kind of do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those mentality things. And I was chatting to my dad and my brother about it when we were back over Christmas, and we were on about naps.
Okay.
Right. So we were discussing naps, and I was sat saying, so I'm in bed, I can't nap. I just can't.
Oh, I hate it.
I have to get up. I got to be doing something. There's something in my head I could be doing, even if I got nothing to do. I'm just like, I got to use this time. I got to be doing something, regardless of what that something is. Whereas my brother and my dad love naps. Will take a nap at will whenever they can, kind of thing. And they would say, like, this is quite a strange thing to be completely separate to your family in terms of like mentality. So where's that come from? And I talked to my mum. She doesn't do naps, but she does twitch, as we call it, where she'll have to be knitting or sewing or doing something. Like, she has to be doing two things at once. So it eventually comes down to just a compulsion of, I need to be doing something. And then from uni and all that, and I always had this thing in my mind of, to use my family as another example, if there's a part of my family who live the adult lifestyle, as we've just described it. As you go to work, you have your job, you make money, you eat food, you go to sleep. And that's their life. And I saw that during college and was just like, fuck that. I do not want to be that. That's terrifying. That I would become, to sound pretentious as shit, part of a system.
Yeah.
I'd become part of this system where I'd just be this cog. I'd be a number, and I hated that. So even if it was just like creating a little tremor within that cog, that made me happy. It's like just that little bit. That's all I need. Just a little vibration. I'd love a big one, but I can't get one every so often. So I gotta have that little vibration which separates the line from all the other lines and makes me feel like I'm not trapped.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of became this thing of when I need to do something. So why not just do the stuff I want to do, essentially. Yeah. So it's like now, I mean, I get an afternoon. I mean, like, when was it? It was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So I'm hungover New Year's Day.
Obviously, you have to be.
It's New Year's Day, you've been drinking. We've already discussed the long conversation I had. So it's New Year's Day, I'm hungover. And I felt worse about not getting stuff done than actually being hungover. Yeah. I didn't even have anything to do. I had no projects in mind, nothing which I was like pending. I had no deadline which I'd set myself or anything like that. I just felt worse. And then by the time I was actually able to kind of get up and move around the house, I picked up a sketchbook and I just started sketching, and I felt so much better.
Okay, that's the weirdest hangover cure I've ever heard.
Yeah,
but
it happens all the time. If I don't do anything, I just kind of start receding into my own head. Yeah. So I just have to pick something up and do something. Okay. Because it falls back to what this theory I have of I think I covered it in another podcast, of productive masturbation.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's productive masturbation. You're doing something which makes you feel good. It doesn't matter how minute it is, and you're doing it alone. You're just doing that little thing which kind of helps you through the day. And in my case, it's making or doing something or discussing something. Okay. So all I'm doing when I'm sketching is essentially masturbating.
No,
to bring it around.
No, I'm scared to look at any of your sketches ever again.
But yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. It's always hard to describe. I mean, how do you get creative? Like, what pushes you? Because this is the thing with music. I can't understand. The same with poetry. I really struggle to sit and think, I'm going to write a poem or I'm going to write a song. Yeah. Because nothing comes to me. And that frustrates the crap out of me. And it's like the first time I've ever had a creative block where I've sat there and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't express via words.
How do I do it? I mean, we already discussed about how I don't think really I'm technically a good musician. Yeah. But I guess, maybe my way of doing it is a bit wrong, but I mean it works for me to an extent. Yeah. Is a lot of the time I almost won't have an idea, so I'll So I'll.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine. So like I have my guitar.
Yeah.
Next to me on a stand, and I actually it was an interesting video I watched the other day that was just one point just interjected and said that that musicians are more likely to practice if their guitar is out on it or their instrument is out rather than being in the case.
Yeah.
Just because there's less barriers to you than doing it. So the same with like having a sketchbook and pencils and all of that. You've got them all there and they're sat right there and it's like, okay, cool, I'll do it. Whereas if you have to go into a box and get them, go to a shop and buy some, then all of a sudden that's a barrier to your creativity.
I can see that.
So, like, what tends to happen with me if I'm like writing a song anyway, I just pick up my guitar and just play things.
Yeah.
It's rarely, but sometimes I do have something in my head, and then I will try and emulate that.
Yeah.
But I find that a lot of the time the best things that I write are the ones that I had no plan to. I just thought, oh, I've got like spare 20 minutes. I'm just going to pick up my guitar.
Yeah.
Because maybe I think as well, it's a limitation that I give myself helps. So like, I was saying that earlier that I watched a couple of videos before coming on about like creativity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this one guy, it was a TED Talk somewhere in America, and he basically said that the key to unlocking your creativity is not thinking outside the box, but thinking in the box.
Okay.
And then kind of just defining what that box is. So he said that by giving yourself limitations, you instantly become more creative because you're not thinking of all the things that you can't do, essentially.
Okay.
So I think his example was he was talking about, he asked, because he was like a lecturer or a teacher or whatever, and he asked students that it was like, I've got a clock, but one of the hands is missing. What could I use to replace the hand on the clock? And so he was saying he kind of ranked how creative or how outside the box their ideas were. And they started out and they were just like, they named really normal stuff like I think he said like a needle or like a spoon or normal kind of things. And then when he gave them limitations, so I think he said then he was like, it has to be green. And then somebody was like, a dinosaur's tail? And then he put up a list of like the weirdest ones. And one of them, apparently one time, one of them said Angelina Jolie's left arm.
Okay.
Which, weird and creative and outside of the box. But that only happened from thinking with these limitations.
See, I struggle with that. Like, I like an open-ended brief.
Yeah.
And if a brief isn't open-ended, I'll make it open-ended.
Okay.
This was a problem I had in uni. Was they would hand you a brief. So, for instance, in first year we had one called Colour. And it was to capture the colour within the everyday.
Okay.
So I went out of my way to find areas without colour. Because I needed to. And it was like, I hate the idea of someone going, you need to draw within this box. Like, I've been trying to do a graphic novel for like many years, trying to come up with like a concept and fit it in, but the idea of fitting something into a panel drives me insane. And so once I've got that restriction, suddenly my mind just goes, you're not going to be able to do what you usually do. So you have to find a way to kind of break that box from my mindset. So you got to take what you were given and get right. So I can adhere to that brief and do my own thing. Just twist it just enough that you can just make it slightly off and that it'll not fit into that box. Yeah. So when they see it, they'll think, that's great, because it's bigger than what we wanted. Yeah, it's kind different. Of thing. Yeah, it's like we wouldn't have thought that because we were thinking inside of the bounds of the box. Okay. And I can never understand it, whereas I know a lot of people, especially, love a brief. Love having direction. And I really can't. It's like, I mean, say like, I don't think the way I create is healthy.
Okay.
I'll say.
Do you need to see a doctor about your creativity?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I don't think the way I help is creative because, like, as I say, it's compulsion. It's a compulsion I can't turn off.
Okay.
So even if I'm really depressed, I'll be making. Even if I'm really happy, I'll be making. Even if I'm going to be unhealthy, I'll be making. And I just don't stop.
Okay.
It just keeps going and going and going. So it's like, it's not something I'd recommend as a way of being a creative. But at the same time, I can see from the outside how it looks. Because you only ever see like little bits. You only ever see the bits which kind of come out and we put on show sort of thing. But you never see like the gaps in between where it's like, cool, so I'm 4 weeks ill. You know, I've had a cold for like 4 weeks. Why am I up? It's like I should be resting. It's like, why am I up? Why am I drawing? Why am I still going outside with a camera? It's like, because I need to. You know, I need to tick that box in my head. Because if I stay inside, I'll just get more depressed.
Okay.
And I'll so it's like there's been a couple of moments where I've had friends who've just been like, stop.
Please.
Just take a day off. You know, we'll come around to your house. We'll watch TV with you. Just to make you stop because you'll feel rude if you go off and go do something. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That's what I need because there's no barrier.
I mean, I suppose. See, to me, that's like really inspirational. I'm like, oh, I wish I could just not stop. But I do see where the other side of it is, like you're saying, that it's kind of, you've got to have that balance.
Yeah.
Maybe you need the smaller outlet, so not necessarily limiting yourself, but just that kind of a mentality of, oh, if I'm not feeling that great, I'll just do some sketching instead of, oh, I'm not feeling great, I'm gonna go take a picture from bungee jumping or something like that.
I mean, I have little things. I mean, that's essentially how I've handled it through the years. Is it used to be much worse.
Okay.
But then I start little projects which keep me occupied. Like Limousine I did. I started that as an outlet last year, like near the start of last year. Because I had a relationship end, I was going through some stuff, didn't have energy at all, mainly just because I didn't want to eat. So I was like, basically just punishing myself at this point. And I was like, I need something which doesn't take effort, which I can just do. So I made a zine. So, you know, it's like 8:05. I can do it on my computer. I can do it in bed. Just sit and sketch it. I can take submissions from other people. And you find those little projects which kind of like just trickle through. And that's how I manage that. But then, yeah, occasionally it spills over. And I do too much and wear myself down as usual. And yeah,
Sure, why not?
I mean, I think that's the same. I think you can easily do that with stuff like music. It's all about finding, like I say, it's finding those little 1% tasks. It's like I hate people who, I don't hate people. I hate the idea that people have when they sit there with a blank page and they're like, I can't start. It's like, because it'll be crap. It'll be, you know, everything I do is shit. So therefore, if I start it, it'll be shit. And it's like, yeah, but if you start it, you'll have a page with something on it, which you know in your head is bad. But you have it. So it means when you do the next one, you're not going to do that again. Or you can take that and you can keep going into it. It's already crap, so you can't ruin it.
I mean, I do like that way of thinking, is that, because the whole idea is like you learn from your mistakes and past experiences, so why should it be any different with creation?
Yeah, it's like if you're writing a song and you get to the end and you think this is terrible, it's like you've still got that song. There's nothing to say you can't print it out, chop it up and rearrange it, because it doesn't matter, because you already hate it. You're already at that point of, I already dislike this, so why, you know, just keep abusing it until it turns into something you want it to be.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, you solve it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, in terms of the smaller tasks, I'm terrible at keeping the smaller tasks.
Okay.
So, like, another video I watched kind of recently, it was talking about, like, how to keep your, like, your songwriting and song creation productive. So it was this guy who was talking. He's like recorded so many, like a lot of just so many tracks. And yeah, like he was talking about the way he does it, which is like a file naming system where he'll label what needs to be put into a track. So he'll put like a G on the file name, and that means he needs to put guitar in it, and then he'll put like a B and it means bass and stuff like that. So he ends up with a list of everything that needs to be recorded for that, and then he'll just do that one instrument for all the songs. So instead of doing one song at a time, it'll be, I'm going to do guitar today, and he'll just do guitar. Whereas, I don't know, my way of doing it, like I really like that idea, and maybe I will kind of try and adopt it. But my problem with any kind of creation is moderation. So like, I'll start with something really small and simple.
You can do moderation in creation.
Apparently.
I've never been told this.
Apparently it's a thing. I don't know. I mean, you need to moderate in terms of how much you're doing. I need to moderate in terms of how big I'm thinking, and then eventually we'll both be like,
we'll get there.
Streamlined. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because like I mean, I had an idea for a couple of songs, or like an idea for like a small theme, and then that slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually I had like a 20-track concept album that was split into 4 parts that also had a short story that was split into 4 parts that went alongside with it.
That's genius.
And like the problem is, then I think about the big product, and then I start working on the small bits, and I'm like, but there's so much left to do. Like,
see, that's
which I do love, but at the same time, I think it's quite a limiting.
It's daunting. Yeah. See, to me, that's the same as someone having a blank page, right? So you've got your blank page, or you've got your big picture. So the thing I do is, so like right at the minute, trying to make a fine art sculpture.
Okay.
I've got the idea for the series. I've got the concept. I basically know how I'd want to present it in a gallery. I don't have a sculpture yet. I've been thinking about this for a year. Right?
Okay.
So essentially what I do is I take the big concept, like you've got your concept album, and then all I do is I list the things which would need to be done to make that happen. I take that brief moment, because I hate to-do lists. I hate keeping track of things like that. If someone who loved organisation looked at my desktop, they would just see a large bunch of post-its, which is fragments of ideas.
Okay.
And that's how I keep track. I hate just like stacking things, but this is like the one time where it works. So you take your big picture, you break that down into the little things you have to do to make it happen. And if, like with this, it's like, cool, so I've got the sculpture I want to do. Right, so work backwards. So I need the sculpture. I need to make the sculpture. What materials do I need for the sculpture? Do I need to do sketches of the sculpture? How is that going to put together? How do I even need to kind of make that as a thing? Until all it does is get back to the point of, I need to sketch an idea for the sculpture. Okay. I don't need to make the sculpture, because I'm not at that point yet. I'm like 50 tasks away from that point. But I need to make a sketch. And if I can't come up with a sketch I'm happy with, I need to make a prototype and just model something.
Right.
It doesn't matter what I'm modelling with. It just needs to be done. It's like the calendar I did was, I need to draw 12 images. What do I need to do? Well, I just need the ideas, essentially. I need the ideas. And then once I've got those ideas, I've got the 1%.
Okay.
Once I've got my sketch and my sculpture, I've got my 1%. So I've always got something to work on to the next step. And then if I do want to go back and look at the list, every so often I'll just rework that list. I'll just go, cool, so what have I got now? 5%? I got like several sketches. I got a brief idea of how I want to put it together. So I'm past step 1. I'll go back and I'll reignite that list, relist it, and then along those ways, because you've been sketching or you've been writing, you'll have solved some of your problems already, because you'll have been researching it without knowing it. You'll have been looking at things, you'll have been talking to people about the idea. Like I spoke to a few friends about it, and I was like, I need somewhere to put this sculpture. And like, cool, we can offer you that. And that when I made my initial list, I had no idea about that. But because I'd been chatting to people about it, and I'd worked back from the big idea into a little bit of a tally, even though it's not concrete in any way, I'd already solved something on the list which I hadn't intended to solve.
I do. I think there's a lot to be said for that kind of milestone mentality.
See, I hate like milestone stuff, but that's the one time where if I get something too huge, and looking at it makes me think I'll never be able to do that. Just breaking it, essentially just stepping it down, down and down and down, until it's like cool, I need to leave the house. That's a big concept. Leaving the house. What can I break that down to? Essentially, I can break that down to I need to stand up. All I gotta do is stand up. So I'll stand up, and that's step one.
Yeah, okay. I think I might take that and then kind of form it with my own weird way of doing things, because I'm terrible. Like, one thing I'm really bad at, because if you were to do that, I guess to the nth degree with a song, I guess you would even break it down to, I'll come up with the chorus, then the verse, and it's like you would just break it down to all the way down to one instrument, individual parts.
Yep.
My problem is if I do that, I then never get anywhere else. Like, I have I think maybe like 8 folders just full of different various recordings, because the way I kind of keep track of things I've written, I'll just set up my phone, put it on the camera, record myself playing it, and then I've got it.
Yeah.
So I can see it, I can hear it. It's great if I ever need to relearn it. My problem with doing that is I just get a backlog on my phone, and then I'm like, oh, my phone's full. Put them onto my laptop, and I'm like, they're there. I'll never look at that folder. There's 100 videos that I need to get through.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, I do occasionally. I have found time to go through like one folder.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. Just take that out. Or sometimes I'll even have recorded like a full song that I've forgotten about. But yeah, I've found that the only times when I actually really commit to a song as a project is if I sit down and I am instantly hooked on it, and then I just write a very basic, like you're saying, prototype.
Yeah.
Just there and then. So I guess instead of going for the 1%, I might just go for like a 5% mentality of just do a song.
Yeah.
And then it's there, and you can add more. You can take stuff away.
And then you all you need to do from that is you got your concept album in your head. You throw it into a folder which just says concept album. So you got 2 copies now. You got your one which you're just going to store, and then you got 1% of your album.
True.
I mean, then you do that again. Even if you do that once every month, at the end of the year you've got an album.
True. So I suppose,
and it's that time frame as well. People kind of really punish themselves over like, oh, I've done nothing this year. It's like, well, not entirely. If you've spent a year thinking about the one thing you want to do, you'll have gotten further in that thought than you were at the start of the year. You know, it's like my graphic novel. I've been thinking about that for like 5 years. I'm now at a point where I'm like, I might actually have an in of how I would actually do that. And yeah, it feels bad to not go, yeah, I wrote a graphic novel in a year, or yeah, I've got it published or something like that. But at the same time, like, I couldn't have put what I put into it where I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So why punish yourself for that? You know, why damage yourself by going, I haven't done enough to get to like the end achievement goal? But I think maybe part of that for me is that I feel like I've never achieved.
Okay. How so?
Well, I think I always put it back to my art teacher at GCSE. Okay. So I was taught when you sketch, a sketch is never finished.
Yeah. Okay.
Sketch is never finished because you can go into it. You can keep drawing into it. You might ruin it eventually, but a sketch is never finished. Therefore, if I expand that out to everything, nothing is ever finished. Right? No project, anything I do is ever finished, because there's going to be things which I can't control about its reception. There's going to be things I can't control about what happens to it once it's left me. So essentially all I decide is when I put it on display.
I watched a video about this. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Like, I watched so many videos about all these things. It's so interesting.
I think that's good.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of just stumble across things occasionally. It's not so much procrastination because it's like I've committed myself to being like, I'm going to watch some videos now. But then I kind of started to streamline what I watch so it's a bit more
informative to the the greater good.
Just about anyway. And yeah, there was this one video that was called The Art of Finishing, and it was the idea that like nothing is ever finished in a creative project, but it's there has to be a point where you just say, okay, you just put a pin in it and you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
And he was basically saying that that's kind of the difference between somebody who maybe never creates and somebody who does, is the fact that there's it's just that one small moment of, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
And because I'm the same, I find that a lot of the time especially, so for me, writing, I can stop, like after I've written a song, for example, I can stop and be like, I think that's alright, I like that.
Yeah.
But then, recording it, there are like infinite ways I feel like I could make it better, because I never did music technology or anything like that, so I have no kind of, I guess, grounding in how to make it work and sound good. And for somebody who likes to think of themselves as a musician, I probably have such a bad ear, because I can just listen to something and be like, sounds alright. I can't pick out and be like, oh, it needs a bit more treble, or it needs a bit of this. So then my kind of way around that is then I'll ask other people. I'll get that kind of... I have certain people in my life who I trust to give me honest critique, because I like thrive off of it. If somebody can say, you did that pretty good, but this was crap, that's way better than somebody just going, I love it, it's great. Because it just feels a whole lot less hollow. Like, it feels like somebody's actually connected with it enough that they have an opinion. That what I will do then is I recorded 2 songs recently, so the concept album is kind of very far in the past now. Like, I had that idea so long ago, and it's something that it's like one of those projects that it's not dead, but it's like it's dormant. You need to reinvigorate it at some point. But my more recent kind of goal, because I was feeling really stagnant. I was like, it'd been like probably 6 months or so since I'd really properly created. And I was like, I just sat down one day and I just had this drive out of nowhere. It's weird, I'd had like 3 hours sleep. I found the less sleep I have, the more productive I am.
Oh, definitely.
No idea why.
The worse you feel, the better you make.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it was that whole idea, like you were saying, of I wasn't actually making anything. I wasn't really, if anything, I wasn't being creative at all. It was the most mundane task, or like organisational task ever. But I just sat down and trawled through. I had like folders of actual songs. So I'll just occasionally, I'll kind of have enough of something where I'll build it up and I'll be like, okay, and I'll actually like give it some sort of placeholder name, which sometimes ends up being its full name. And yeah, I just trawled through all of those folders that I had, and I was like, I like that. And I just had a folder called Songs with Potential, and I just put them into there. And then the next day, go through that, and then I had like a Word document where I would I'd written out all these tracks, and some of them are so old and like I hated. They were like, these are terrible now. But there were other ones that weren't on that list that then I listened to, and I was like, actually, this is pretty good. Like, this has got somewhere. So then, literally this one day was probably one of the most creative, productive days I'd had, and all I was doing was looking at folders and being like, oh, that's good, and then just making a list, and then all of a sudden I was like, I have an album here. And then rewind back to, like a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
I just sat down and I just recorded, mixed and mastered, to a degree, 2 songs in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I felt great about how ridiculously over the top productive I'd been after feeling like I'd done nothing for 6 months. And then immediately I sent those off to a friend and I was like, what do you think? Because I listened to them and I just think, they sound like a bit of a mess, they could be better. And he gives me some critique, but at the same time, his kind of approval of certain things that I thought, oh, don't really know how I feel about this, I was kind of like, oh, suddenly made me feel a hell of a lot better about it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to be said for that kind of collaboration with others, and that just get critique off people, like get people to tell you are shit. That's my favourite thing ever.
Yeah, I think in a way I'm kind of, I want to say blessed, but I don't have a fear of what people are going to say about what I do, because I'm very concept based. Like with this, I've got a second mic now. Production quality wise, when I started this, I don't care. I don't really care now in terms of production quality. So it was one of these things of, I'm just going to make it. I'm going to put it out. It's probably not going to be perfect in any way, shape or form, but then I have no goal of perfect. It was just about the concept. It was about getting out there. Same with the zine. It was like, there's nothing perfect about this. I'll just put it out. I prefer it to be imperfect, because then people can pick at it. Because then people will engage with it that a little bit more. So it's people that you get a lot of people torturing themselves about making something pristine, perfect. And this was why I kind of like through my uni course, I did contemporary lens media, which was video and film and photography and all that kind of stuff. And so many people will be so obsessed with like grain and pixels and sound quality and stuff like that. I just didn't care. There was nothing in my head which said, yeah, I need to put something pristine onto this film. It was just, no, if they understand the concept, I've succeeded. Yeah. If they can get the story, I've succeeded. If they felt something, then I've succeeded. And that is how I essentially approach everything. Is I just kind of let go of that. It needs to be pristine. It's like, it's never going to be pristine because everything is imperfect. So just put it out.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, I don't know. It's something which I never have to tell someone how to do it, because it's just something one day I just woke up and was like, it can be done.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It'll just be done at some point. And as long as the concept's getting picked up, I'm happy.
It's, because I'm the same. I'm the exact same. The problem is, I completely understand the not being able to explain it to people, and it's so frustrating at times, because there'll be people who really need that mentality, like they're struggling, they feel like they're in a rut, and then I have this like constant desire, like I'm like I can help them, my problem solving like part of my mind just goes crazy, and then I try and explain it, I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the same with like, I think you're one of the third guests or something who's asked me kind of how I do it, and I just can't explain it. I can't imagine not doing it, if that makes sense. It's like one of those things of, I just wake up and I do it. I think it was a problem I had with like a couple of friends of mine who really struggle, and it was like, I want to help you, and so I'll tell you what I do. Like, I just get up and I do it. And I pick up a sketchbook and I'll sketch, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to sketch." It's like, it's not about want.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to sketch, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just kind of participating in my own concept, so to speak. So there's a huge barrier of frustration, but then at the same time I see, like you saying, it's kind of nice to be able to do all this and inspire.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see it as inspirational because I see it as something I do every day. But when someone sees it and goes, you know what, I feel pretty amped about going and doing something, I'm like, that's great. That's completely unintended on my part, but that's fantastic, because that's how I'm helping.
Yeah.
And that's in a way a larger goal. So I'll just keep doing it because I can. So why would you stop if you can do it?
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, that's why the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
From like when you were saying about the TED Talk, like it's the same idea where I am because it's sometimes so difficult to rely on external sources for good critique.
Yeah.
I'm like my biggest critic.
Oh.
Because I think you have to like ground yourself somehow, because like you were saying, like somebody's like, oh, this is really inspirational. If you then just sit there for like 5 days going, damn, I'm so inspirational. God damn, I'm so good. Like all of a sudden, yeah, it's like all of a sudden you kind of you get lost into this other path, whereas instead you could be doing something else, or like you won't improve or change or try new things because you're like, oh, one time when I did it, oh, that was damn good.
Yeah.
So it was like the other day when I was just sat there doing stuff, and then I just get a message from one of my old friends, who I haven't properly seen in a long time. Like, he's been in Japan for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to him a bit while I was out there, but I didn't really properly talk to him. I felt kind of bad for doing so. And then he just like messaged me and was like, oh dude, I saw your TED Talk, which already got me, because I was like, I didn't share it because I wasn't proud of it. It was just, like you're saying, like just something that I did.
You wanted to do, yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to do it because something different, it's like learning experience, all of that.
Yeah.
So it kind of first got me because it was like he'd just gone to the extent of getting it. And then he was like, oh, I thought it was really inspirational, man. And I was like, oh, thanks. I mean, I thought it was a bit of a mess, but thank you. And it was that moment of, it feels good to know that it wasn't completely meaningless, I guess.
Something which you maybe thought was throwaway, someone else kind of took on board and had with them. I mean, the reaction you had is essentially what I have anytime anyone tells me they listen to my podcast. Because I'm like, this is, from like my point of view, it was like, this is throwaway.
Yeah.
I started doing it just to have discussions, just to kind of put that little bit of impact and chat to friends and do it as like a social experiment kind of thing. We'll also get to know people better, because I was like, that seems like a pretty important goal. And then people were just like, oh yeah, watch your podcast. I'm like, why? I mean, I'm making them, and I'm not entirely sure why. So why did you watch it? They're like, oh no, this is good. I really do. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what to do with that.
Yeah, it's why is usually the best response anytime somebody says, oh, I really enjoyed that. Why?
I think it's interesting when you get a moment like that, because there's so much which you do and then you don't get a reaction. So like, I'll draw something and I'll put some thought into it. You know, it'll be like a proper project. It'll be drawn, finished. I'll have like my concept piece. I'll release it. Nothing will happen. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, cool. That's the expected. That's the expected feedback. You're releasing something into the world. Everyone's got lives and doing things. I'm not fussed. It's like, it's a little sounding, doesn't get noticed, but it doesn't matter, because that's the expected reaction. And then I'll do something just randomly, and I'll put it out, and it'll get like a bunch of people coming back to me like, oh yeah, I saw that, it was really good. I was like, why? What makes that different to that?
I think that's what I like about it, is that, like, it's the same thing about like the whole fact that your zine is anonymous. Like, I love that, just that as an idea, because there's a lot to be said for anonymity in something like this, because then it takes away that whole kind of ego aspect, the whole kind of like, oh, I'm getting my name out there, I'm doing something for me, because the doing it for you shouldn't come from the response you get, but from the doing. So the idea that saying about how, you know, you don't intend to get a reaction, because you can't predict those kinds of things. Like you're saying, there's that one thing that you just randomly put out that people react to a whole lot more than something you spent a long time on. But really, the value in anything should instantly and gratifyingly come from just the point of doing it. It should be going from, oh, I've never I've never written a book before, and then you write like a page of a book, and you're like, I've written a page of a book. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to show anyone. There doesn't need to be any kind of somebody looking at it and going, that was great, I loved it.
Yeah.
Because you've gone from a person who's never written anything one day to somebody who's written a page of a book, and then all of a sudden you have that value because you've got that experience.
Yeah.
And
it's like you don't need the fanfare.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need. I think a lot of people chase a fanfare quite a lot. That was one of the reasons I started doing the zine. Firstly it was to stop people having fear of being able to do things. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's crap. It's anonymous. Even if you hate it, we'll put it out because someone might like it, and you'll get that little thing back of, oh, well, someone said that's cool, and I didn't like it. And like a couple of issues where I've not had enough submissions, I fill it with terrible things. Just literally off the top of my head, one afternoon, craply photoshopped, put together stuff, and people were like, I really connected with that.
Sure.
Okay, sure, whatever you want. And it was taking away that fear, but at the same time, as you say, it's like it gives people the opportunity to taste test little things, just to go, yeah, I don't know how to do that, or maybe I can do that. Or maybe it doesn't need to be about exposure and likes and that kind of thing. It's like you can, if afterwards you wanted to put it out as like a finished piece because you were more confident about it, fantastic. But it's just about concept.
Yeah.
Go push that concept.
Yeah. Go push it. And I love the idea of people engaging with something that you haven't necessarily put your normal amount of work into. I like the idea that people engage with it because then it shows that there's other avenues. Like, hell, I think there was like a time when I was around my mates for a band practice, and for some reason, I can't remember why, he had a cornet. It's like a little trumpet. And I don't know, I've literally never played brass, woodwind. I've never played any kind of instrument that required the use of my mouth. And then I just like, we just decided to have a jazz jam. It wasn't jazz. It was something. I think we just called it jazz because we were like, I guess that encompasses whatever this is.
I mean, there's a brass instrument involved. You got to call it jazz.
Exactly. So I just picked up this cornet and I was just doing it kind of like just pressing a load of buttons, working it out as I went along, and that was an avenue I'd never done before. To me, it was just a load of rubbish. I was like, this sounds hilariously bad. Yeah. But that's just what we would do at band practices. Is we would just have terrible sounding jams and just laugh about it afterwards. We'd record it. Yeah. Like I edited like all this footage together that we'd recorded and put that jam onto YouTube. I find it hilarious. Probably nobody else finds it funny because it's just like, what the hell are these guys doing?
There's no context to it for everyone else. But
exactly. Yeah. And there was just a moment where I'm just like I just stood there, my arm on the piano. So maybe it was jazz. It feels very jazz when I describe it.
Was someone smoking in the
background? I feel like it. I was like arm on the piano, just holding the corner with one hand, just kind of like doing a really elongated mess of notes. And then my mate's dad comes down, because that's where we practice at my mate's house, and he's like, "Oh, is that you, Zach? Actually sounds pretty good." I'm like, "Oh, I'm just doing what I do."
Yeah,
So I guess that's it. Like it probably did sound terrible. He was probably just humouring me, but at the same time, the idea that one day, we recorded a track, and I wanted to mess around with stuff, and my parents got me an accordion for my birthday one year. I was like,
as you do.
The one time the 2 times I played it were on my birthday, where what was described as the most depressing thing anybody had seen was they walked into my room at home, and it was me staring out the window playing Happy Birthday to myself on my accordion. Because
that's beautiful.
That's what happens. And the second time I ever played the accordion was to record this track.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's me personally. I'm really proud of it. It's like I think it's the best track we've recorded.
Yeah.
And we've had the same response from other people, and it's that idea that I'm not an accordion player, but just this idea, this other output, people engaged with it because it was something a bit different, and I think because there were no ideas even like lingering of this is going to be great.
Yeah.
But then when people engage with it, it makes it so much more, because all of a sudden it's gone from an experiment of, I wonder what it sounds like to put an accordion here, to people really like it apparently.
I think if you can to kind of bring it around to in a way some sort of point, because obviously we can't explain how we do things.
I was going to say creativity was a bit too broad.
Well, no, creativity is fine. It's how to get things done, really. It's, if you can hold on to that idea that regardless of whatever you do, someone's going to have a reaction to it, right? It might be positive, it might be negative, and because you can't control that reaction, you needn't worry about it. All you can control is your own reaction to it. Obviously, there's going to be things you hate and things you don't hate, but there's no point not creating, in a way. There's no point not doing it, because someone's going to get something.
Yeah.
You're gonna spark something in someone. Negative or positive, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you were doing what you want to make. So when you start a project or you look at a project, it's about finding that 1% or that 5%. At the same time, looking at the bigger picture, instead of worrying, I'm never going to get this done and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, people are gonna look at it and react one way or another.
Yeah. Even if that those people are just you.
Yeah.
And you're just looking at it and thinking, I did it.
Yeah, I did it. I made something, and it was along the lines of what I wanted to make. If it's not perfect or what I want it to be, doesn't matter. I can always come back to it. Yeah. Because that's the thing. You got to stop blocking off things which you thought didn't go right, because with creativity, there's always the opportunity to go back. Literally until you're dead. Like, as bad as it sounds, it's like that's why art's valuable when the artist's gone. Because once the artist can't have input on it anymore, it's exactly as it should have been when they went. Regardless of how it was interpreted, it's exactly as it should have been when they went. So until they are gone, nothing's ever finished. So therefore, you can release it at any time. Yeah. Just go back and put another twist on it if you want to. Remix it. Re-release,
Just cover band.
Yeah. And like you say, is you never know who's going to see it. And they might themselves need that little spark.
Yeah. So it's just do it.
Just do it. That's all I can say. Is as much as it boils down to is just do it.
Well, I'm glad, because I guess I came here with, I was like, maybe I'll get some weird secret method on how to do it, and it's like, no, it's the same. It's the same as everybody else I've asked about this. It's just like, just. You
just got to pick it up.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You just got to pick it up and do it.
Just be bold and then do it. Be like, I've got nothing else to do. Go do it. How about that idea?
I think that's a great message for this podcast. I've got nothing else to do, so I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah,
that's the key to everything of this.
Life.
There you go. Go home and write a song now.
I'll write a song about creativity. I've done it.
I mean, that's the meta. That's the meta painting, isn't it? Why did you paint a self-portrait? I don't know. I
didn't have a mirror.
I had nothing else to write about, so I decided to do a self-portrait.
Admittedly, I have written a song about how I couldn't write a song.
I've done the mental block drawing.
Yeah. So it has to happen. Eventually.
Well, little things like this can happen.
Yeah. Embrace the small bits of inspiration.
And if you're bored, just do the other thing. Well, thank you for coming, Zach.
It's alright. It was
fantastic to have you.
It was good.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
So.
Middle one?
Yeah, middle one.